Let them know it's Halloween. Hit it!
I wouldn't change places with anyone tonight. We'll carve pumpkin faces and watch the witches' flight. Every human heart will shudder. Every soul will shake with fear. Tonight, the creepiest. Tonight, the scariest. Tonight, the most wonderful night. The year. Anything can happen on Halloween. Your dog could turn into a cat. There may be a toad in your bass guitar, or your sister could turn into a bat. Christmas time brings the snow. Summertime brings the sun. But on Halloween, your blood begins to run. Something's moving going down. Anything can happen on Halloween. It's better than a video. Gremlin's gonna mess up every cassette from London to Idaho. April 1st can be fun. New Year's Eve is a bore. But on Halloween, your flesh begins to crawl. Oh, I'm losing control. Anything can happen on Halloween. Your toenails grow long and your hair turns green. Your teacher could become a sardine. Your dentist could turn into a queen. Has anybody seen my tambourine? I may start playing picking the begin. The craziest night you've ever seen. This hairy, scary, creepy, crawling
Shut up! Woo! Howdy, everybody.
Yeah.
Who we got with me today? It's not. We advertised Uncle Bill. What happened?
Oh no, this is just my Macho Man getup. This ain't got nothing to do with any of the other shit.
Oh, okay, I was confused because
It's basically the same thing.
that bandana looked. We both got. We're doing the bandanas tonight, boys.
Yeah.
So we're talking Halloween Havoc 1995, Uncle Bill, and a very special. We only do these once in a blue moon when somebody from Patreon requests this. It's the return of retro wrestling.
Oh God.
That's some old school. That's a little quick nod to the old retro wrestling night. And Garrett, well, people going to be asking, where in the hell's Garrett at? Well, this is something that normally happens in Eastern Kentucky, not uppity Connecticut or Rhode Island or where the hell he's at. Power outage, boy.
Yeah, he's doing
outage.
it. Yeah.
So he's going to have to eat his Grey Poupon in the dark tonight.
Yeah.
Poor
I know that's
Garrett.
difficult, but who the hell, what are the odds of a power outage exactly at the time frame that we're doing this show, man?
I don't know why couldn't he have a
you know
power
what?
outage when he was scheduled to do one of the appearances on?
One of the other 4,000 fucking shows he
Yeah,
does.
what the hell?
God damn
This
it.
is going to be well. It still is a simulcast. I think we're simulcasting on his channel as well, so he can delete that at a later date if he wants to. But he might show up. The power may come back on. But tonight, man, this is this is going to be a fun show. And we've got people in the chat already on I understand that this is not horror. This is total departure from all of our normal stuff. So probably doesn't appeal to everybody, but the people it does appeal for, you're in for a treat because I think we both had a lot of fun with this show.
I'm going to tell you right now, you're my friend. Like, what's going on with that shit? We'll get into that later. But, man, this is one of the, like, best bad pay-per-views that has ever existed. I don't even know. Like, there may be one or two more that I can think of that kind of rival this one, but it's up there. It's got to be in, like, the top 2 or 3, like, of like, just insanely shitty but great pay-per-views.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I had a lot of fun watching it again. It'd been many years since I'd seen it. So, we're going to get into it in a second, but do a little bit of a roll call here like we normally do. Robert Long is up in here. Cthulhu Virtuoso, or Virtuoso.
Yeah.
I don't think that's spelled right, but welcome, sir. Gus Amaretti. Hi, Garrett, Uncle Bill, and CK. Well, Garrett says hi in the dark, Gus. Carter Dention is in the house. Time for nostalgia. Brother.
Yeah. Hogan
I actually have that in my notes.
Hogan giving away bikes and shit. This pay-per-view's great.
Yeah. Bug-eyed Betty, unfortunately, she's wanting Garrett to lay the smackdown on her tonight.
If you please.
I'm sure he would be interested if he had power, but he can't see, so
he's dancing in the dark tonight.
Yeah.
Do-do-do.
Oh, Curly Jaws. He is putting over the Halloween Havoc. I'm kind of glad they brought it back, but I wish you'd make it a main roster thing. I think that there's a good possibility that could happen. They're bringing the War Games back for Survivor Series. So maybe it was a little bit too soon to rename everything this year, but I would bring Halloween Havoc as far as a name and a pay-per-view brand goes. Even before I really got hardcore into WCW, that was one of the ones where I was like very interested in seeing what happened on it. I mean, it was kind of the elements of horror and wrestling coming together. I think Halloween Havoc 91 is probably the best Halloween Havoc that I can recall. We've never done any sort of review on that. I think the WrestleManiacs back in the day did Halloween Havoc 92. I think it was the one with Jake and Sting. You remember that one? That one's terrible.
Yeah. I actually ended up like watching part of 96 too, because it came on like after 95 ended, it automatically just started like on the stream. So I watched some of it too. That's completely different, man. By like 96, they were in like a fucking 50,000 seat arena, and like they already had the WCW NWO thing going on, and it was like it was wild to watch those 2 years, like how different they were, like back to back like that.
Oh, Curly Jaws does not like Jake the Snake Steel. He just wanted to put that over. He said he still smelled like mildew. Time for nostalgia. Carter Dention again. He was the one that requested this. If we didn't mention that on the Patreon page, so but I was excited as soon as he. What is it?
Quee-wee. Yeah.
That was a little bit later on. Ryan, what's up? No problem on that. That was an interesting one, and I never really even realized, briefly going into Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that soundtrack had never been officially released on anything. The original one. It's kind of weird. I guess there's not, the elements may not exist for it. Not sure.
I had no idea about that. I didn't realize that thing even got released.
Magic Hands, though, Scratch Bueno. Alexander Lumberjack enjoys the shut up spot from Steve. Movie Junkie John.
Yeah.
WCW, baby. Stuntman Mark is up in here. And Suspiria Night. Dead Pit is taking over Garrett's channel like Vince took over Nitro. Well, it wasn't originally planned that way. Garrett's supposed to be on here. But his shitty Rhode Island power company cut his power off on a Sunday night. Who does it on a Sunday night? It's just going to ruin your entire week, Garrett. I mean, for me, I don't know if he's like me, but if I don't have my fan beside of me going, like when I'm asleep, I can't sleep. If it's too quiet, I can't go to sleep. So I hope the power comes back on soon for you, brother.
Yeah, it'd be a shame to be sitting in the dark in fucking Rhode Island. Lord. I'd be like, it's almost like Martin. Come on.
Yeah, Chambers of Horror match is great. Quee Wee, thank you, sir, for the $2 super sticker or super chat or whatever. Mac Boy Color Video Knob. This is a different kind of horror.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, again, this isn't something that's it's not really appealing to most of our audience, but I think this is something that, not only it was requested, but it's something that we're going to enjoy doing. So I'm kind of surprised at how much fun I had watching this show again, to be honest with you, because
me too.
We'll go ahead and get started with it, because this takes us back, man. We were sophomores in high school in the fall of 1995. And this was shortly after WCW started Monday Nitro. This was less than 2 months after the first Nitro show. And Nitro for me, because there were a period there, believe it or not, in the early 90s where I kind of got out of wrestling, but Monday Nitro, being live on Monday nights on TNT at 8 o'clock on Mondays, really got me back. That was part of what got me back into watching wrestling on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think this was like this is when we first started talking about wrestling again. Like right around this era. It would have been like immediately before the whole NWO thing, like right as it was getting ready to go into it. I don't know why that was exactly. I don't know if like wrestling was starting to like pick up steam or something around that time. But in going back and watching like pay-per-views like this, I gotta say that I almost prefer like this era of, maybe that's just because like we like watch so much of the NWO era that it just kind of it's burnt out now. But like I prefer the the early 90s era of WCW for some reason now.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of in a weird spot here because the Hulkster signed with WCW a year and a half earlier. And I think during this period, Kevin Sullivan was the one that was doing the booking. So you had Kevin Sullivan and the Dungeon of Doom pretty much all over these shows. And it really wasn't until the NWO started where they were really kind of taking more of a serious approach. So you were kind of in the middle here between goofy 80s wrestling and then what it would become, what would make WCW so damn popular just a year later, really. So this was a weird spot, but we're going to set it up for you. The Joe Louis Arena in Detroit, Michigan, boys.
Which they bring that up about 5,000 times.
Yeah. They bring a lot of stuff up over and over again. And, that just brought me back there, if only for a day, of how WCW did shit. Because, you got Bobby the Brain Heenan and Tony Schiavone on the announce team. And I think Eric Bischoff was in there every once in a while. And the pay-per-view was on a Sunday night, October 29th, 1995. The big match, and this is the main event, there were two matches, was Hulk Hogan versus the Giant in the Giant's debut match, which they'd been building up for at least a couple of months at this point. But the Halloween Havoc shows, this was the 7th one. They started in like 89. And all of them had been fairly memorable, I think, up to a point. I mean, the gimmick of Halloween Havoc was, they had some sort of like spin the wheel, make the deal was one year. You had the Chamber of Horrors match one year. I think Sid and Sting were in a steel cage of some sort one year. So, I mean, it's kind of the big gimmick match on this one. Let's talk about it. And we're going to go through these individually, but this was the big, the selling point to this, maybe?
So, yeah, the big selling point to this, and they brought in people that were like experts in building monster trucks and things like that, like to do brief like interviews throughout this. But the end match was a 2-part match where Hogan and the Giant would be welded together in like 2 monster trucks, right? And it would be like a sumo ring that was like, it had a bunch of like, those danger yield signs like Roadblock used to carry out like in WCW days, like surrounded like this big sumo pit. And they just like pushed each other back and forth throughout, that part of the match. And then it was supposed to be that whoever would win, and then they would go have an actual match like between those two as the main event. And that was like how it was supposed to go down, which is, I guess, still goes down that way even after something hilarious happens.
But yeah, I was looking up some information on this show. There are 4 matches on this that did not make the live pay-per-view. They were on, and I forgot that they did this, but they did this way back then. This was 95. The pre-show, which is what we call it now, is on pay-per-view and everything, was on their TV show Main Event. So they had these 4 matches on Main Event. A couple of them are actually on YouTube, but not the whole Main Event episode. WWE Network doesn't have any Main Event episodes on there as of yet. So we're going to go through those really quickly. Didn't watch these, but maybe we'll give some feedback on the wrestlers at the time and everything else. This is really interesting. The first match of the whole night was Eddie Guerrero versus the Disco Inferno in a singles match.
Wow. I can't even imagine that, like those two styles, but whatever.
I think, Eddie Guerrero and Disco Inferno are both pretty new to the company. The match was only 3 minutes, 21 seconds.
Uh-huh.
And the second match was very weird because I had no idea that this guy was still there at this point. But this one is actually on YouTube. It's a very brief match, which the first match, Eddie Guerrero defeated the Disco Inferno. Paul, Mr. Wonderful Orndorff versus the Renegade.
Holy shit. The Ultimate Warrior ripoff guy. Was he in there at that?
Poor Renegade. Yeah.
God, man.
If I'm not mistaken, the Renegade was debuting it was earlier that year as a surprise. Like WCW were bad for this. They teased like they had the Renegade in the shadows doing like the poses of the Ultimate Warrior, and everybody was thinking, "Oh shit, they finally got the Ultimate Warrior to come in WCW too." But no, it was the fucking Renegade. And the poor guy did commit suicide in 1999. Brad's mentioned it on here that he had a lot of issues outside of the ring and everything. But Paul Orndorff beat the shit out of the Renegade on the Main Event, and that match was 1 minute and 22 seconds.
What the fuck? So by that point, they were just like, "Yeah, we're gonna scrap this whole idea," and he just jumps.
Let old man Paul Orndorff beat your ass, boy. Match number 3 on Main Event: Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko versus
those were always it's them two versus the Blue Bloods. I was gonna say the Benoit Malenko matches were always great. Yeah.
Yeah, the Blue Bloods were Lord Steven Regal and Earl Robert Eaton.
Hell yeah.
Any memories of the Blue Bloods?
Vaguely, yeah. I mean, I don't recall that being like a House of Fire tag team or anything, but I
One
do remember.
one thing I always remember is back in the day at Walmart or Kmart or whatever it was. I guess it was both. The Lord Steven Regal figure was the peg warmer back then.
Uh-oh.
I can't believe it, Buzz.
I can't either.
The lights,
Holy shit.
the lights
The,
are
the gray poupon in live and living color and light it up.
He's risen from the dead just like the giant.
Oh my goodness. I am like the giant. Wow, that is cutting it close, man. Damn.
God, dude. Sorry, brother.
Yeah, we're still going through the pre-show here, so a lot of this stuff you can't even watch. But
Well,
for you, Garrett, I mean, this was the fall of 1995. Where were you at in your wrestling fandom at this point in time? Do you recall?
getting out of WCW, I watched this because I was more curious because the Giant was brand new and it was like he was being billed as like Andre's son. So to me, it was like I was so intrigued by that. And come to find out it was all like a big work. But I can remember going to my grandmother's and watching this for free. She used to have like one of those like stealing the internet box or whatever it was. Like they used to call it like what they call it? Do you remember there was like a black box or something like that? Yeah, black box. She had that. So we used to always go there and watch all the wrestling stuff. So I did watch this, but I think I was out of WCW for a little bit shortly after this for a while.
Well, they showed a clip from the beginning of this that cracked me the fuck up when they were doing like the package and everything to introduce the Giant, where they were still doing like the whole the Giant is Andre's son gimmick in this, and they showed him like, you remember this shirt, Hogan, and he threw like it's supposed to be like Andre's shirt at him.
But what was the shirt? Like I tried to figure out. Was it
remember
did it have
seeing
the
that
handprint on it, or was it just like a regular white shirt?
It was just a white shirt,
like just a white button-up shirt. Yeah.
And why would Hogan remember that shirt?
I was really confused by that too.
Shirt, brother. It smells like the Giant, dude.
Like if he threw a black singlet at him, I can understand it, but like.
Yeah, or if he had like Andre's shirt with like the red handprint, or like if he walked over to Hogan and like ripped the cross off or something and was like, "Do you remember this?" It would have made way more sense, right? This whole other thing, it didn't make a lot of sense to me at all. But what was on the pre-show, real quick? What did I miss?
This was main event, so this is still recorded somewhere. I mean, a couple of these are on YouTube. The opening match was Eddie Guerrero defeating the Disco Inferno. Match number 2, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff defeating the Renegade. Now, do you remember when they were hopping the Renegade?
This was
the Renegade.
I think this pay-per-view was probably my last straw because I can remember begging my mother, who would never let me do pay-per-views. She would never pay for that. So I'd always have to go to my grandmother's or whatever. But when WCW was hyping the Renegade, I'm like telling my mom, like, no, Ultimate Warrior's coming. Like, I need to see this because she knew that he was like my favorite wrestler growing up. And I was like begging her. And then when she actually paid for that thing and I watched it and saw when the Renegade come out, I was like so bummed. Like, dude, you have no idea. I was like confused / like just so disappointed, but I really wasn't sure what was going on. Like, was that him? Was it not? Like, it was weird, man. It was such a weird gimmick because they were really seriously promoting him as the Ultimate Warrior. I have an ultimate surprise. Like it was very in your face.
Both companies were doing stupid shit like that because that's around the same time that like they were doing it would have been like, I guess, a year or so later that they did the fake Razor and fake Diesel and all that. Yeah. Oh, God. That whole time period was just bizarre for what they were doing.
Well, do you guys agree? Maybe you talked about this, but even WWF and WCW at the time was bad. Like back then, you were watching it, but you're kind of like, oh man, this kind of sucks. But man, you know what? I've grown such a fondness of the new generation era, like 94, 95, 96. Like I actually prefer that more now than I do, a lot of the like even Attitude Era I thought was awesome, but to me, like going back, I'm like, I would rather watch New Gen than watch anything past Attitude Era at this
Well,
point.
we were just talking about that like not too long ago, and I was saying the same thing, which is like I guess it maybe I got burnt out on the NWO era stuff, but like to me the from like 92 to 95 like WCW was like great. And they definitely were from like 94 to 95 they kicked the shit out of WWF. Like the stuff that WWF had on at that time was
Oh, yeah.
some of the
Well,
worst. Like
ratings wise, though, I wonder how. Like this was pre NWO, so we know once the NWO started, they were kicking the shit out of WWF every
yeah,
week.
I would say WWF was still winning at the
Yeah, I
time that
think
they had
so.
all this stuff. Yeah,
I think so.
One thing, real quick, that Garrett would get a kick out of, though, I was mentioning the third match that was on main event: Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko defeating the Blue Bloods, Lord Steven, Regal, and Earl Robert Eaton. Boys.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, I can recall, I think it was either Kmart or Walmart. Walmart was around here then, so probably was Walmart. The peg warmer back in the day for these, remember those big rubber WCW?
Oh yeah,
figures?
you're gonna tell me Blue Bloods and those freaking things are like so valuable. Now those were rare, you know. That was Kmart exclusive. If you're talking about the Blue Blood ones.
Well, now I was just talking about the Steven Regal one by himself.
Oh,
Like it was
oh,
all over.
oh, oh.
Yeah.
I've got that
Oh.
somewhere.
There's the Blue Blood double pack was valuable, was rare. If you guys come across that was a rare pack. Those fake LJNs that they did.
I've
Yeah.
got some of those.
Yeah, they
man.
were trying to-
Those look awful. Like I've got the Flair one, and
Well,
a
anytime,
couple-
like the Cody Rhodes one that AEW did looks like shit too. That one that
Yeah.
just came
I
out.
think that's
I can't
purposely to
remember.
look like shit, though, isn't it? Like,
You know what was the worst though? Like those rubber ones were like to me. I was a big fan of the Gloobs back in the day. Like they were like my favorite figures besides the Hasbro's. The rubber ones they were shitty, but like, dude, WCW went through a real bad period. Remember when they had like the ones that vibrated and the ones that's like knuckles would stick together with magnets? They were friggin' terrible, man. Like those rubber ones were money compared to what they ended up coming
Yeah,
out
I had
with for a while.
the Chris Benoit one that vibrated. I had that at one point in time.
yeah, I
Like,
did
what was
too.
the
I've
point
got
of
that. Yeah. I've still got that somewhere. Now think about it.
Like, who thought that was a good idea? What the fuck?
Yeah, it was
Here you
weird,
go, kid.
man.
Play with this vibrator.
Jamming up your ass. Like,
Fourth main event match, though. This is the main event of main events. It was Craig Pitbull Pittman versus VK Wall Street.
Woo!
oh, that's a
Yeah.
hell of a match right there.
I think Craig Pittman had a figure too.
I was getting ready to say I've got that figure still in the package. Yep.
You have Craig Pittman?
Oh yeah.
Wow, you are hardcore in at this point, man.
Yeah.
Big time.
The Pitbull brother.
He's got the USMC shirt on, like and the camouflage pants and all that shit.
You should get a dead Pittman shirt.
Dead Pitbull Pittman.
Oh God.
All right, so this is the live pay-per-view. So the pay-per-view itself starts and opens with Johnny B. Bad. You don't want to make him mad. He's as pretty as a picture. He looks just like Little Richard. Sing it, boy.
No shit. I can't look at Johnny B. Bad anymore without thinking about like what Jim Cornette said about him, which is the truest goddamn thing I've ever heard. Is like he just learned how to be Johnny B. Bad, and then he couldn't do anything else. Like he learned that gimmick, and he just like that was it. Like he never really could transition out of.
Well, I
just
think
doing
I'd
that.
heard Vince was a gigantic mark for that gimmick. That's why they signed Marrow like less than a year after this, actually. I think he was at WrestleMania the next year.
Yeah, 12.
But yeah, it had a long feud with Diamond Dallas Page that they kind of, and WCW was good for this. They would tell the backstory of what led to the match, and it was, I think Johnny B. Bad had like a TV title match or US title match, and he missed it because he got, he had car trouble, which ultimately was Max Muscle and DDP giving him 4 flat tires. So
Did you see? Yeah, did you see that part of the interview? That was amazing.
Yeah, it was
Where
so
he's
funny.
like, "What do you mean? I didn't say 4 flat tires."
He's like,
Yeah.
But what was funny is he had all shit all over him. Like he was like the worst at
Yeah.
changing tires. It was like all over his face and stuff. Like, what is he doing out there?
like dirt or something all over him.
Oil and stuff. Yeah, he was like a mess.
But yeah, DDP always, and this was still kind of early on, I guess, in his wrestling career, because he was in WCW as a manager forever and didn't wrestle for whatever reason. But had the Diamond Doll, which Kimberly would later be known as Kimberly, and Max Muscle, who I didn't remember Max Muscle at all.
I didn't either. I did not remember that guy.
But very long match here. It's 17 minutes, 1 second. And Johnny B. Bad won and became the world television champion. He said it was a great day to be a bad man.
Yeah. Here's the part about that I didn't understand the most. Like, he's got this guy, like DDP's got this guy that's supposed to be his bodyguard, right? But DDP's like a foot taller than this guy. And like, like in your bodyguard's like supposed to be this huge guy that kind of like watches out for you. I don't think that
so, yeah.
Max Muscle would be that guy for some reason. But anyway, he ultimately lariated DDP, and that's what cost him the match. So yeah, it was okay though. I didn't mind that match.
Yeah, I think those guys had like a long feud that went on for fucking hell and ever. So they work well together, and DDP would ultimately become one of the better in-ring guys in WCW over the next 3 or 4 years or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Max Muscle is dead too, according to Brad.
Jesus Christ, everybody's dead. I didn't mind the Johnny B. Bad gimmick. I think actually for that period of time that was a pretty like solid kind of like Adrian Adonis style gimmick,
Mm-hmm. But you know what's funny is it was a weird time because do you remember when that first came out? He was like a real big heel. He used to kiss the other wrestlers and stuff like that. And there was one event, I don't know which one it is, and you guys might be able to tell me, but he faces Brian Pillman. And it was either Brian Pillman as Brian Pillman, or remember when Brian Pillman was Yellow Dog for like a split second? Do you remember that gimmick?
Yeah.
So I remember there was a match between those two, and Pillman's like, he's yelling in the mic and doing an interview, and he's like, you're Johnny B. Gay. He kept calling him, and like, then he starts having the crowd chant like,
shit,
yeah, dude, it's bad. Like,
God,
I'll have to try to find the clip of it. Like, I don't know if I probably have it on VHS, but yeah, man, it was awful. Like, in like the chant, the crowd's all going like back and forth, like with the F word, like doing it, and it's like little kids like singing to Johnny B. Bad's like no, like, and it just goes to show like how different times were. Like, it was literally like little kids like chanting it like in the arena. But I think it was Yellow Dog versus Johnny B. Bad. So if anybody can YouTube that, it might be there. I don't know, but it was wild, man.
Yeah, man, that was a different era for sure.
There was some gimmick too where Johnny B. or Diamond Dallas paid. But he was like a multi-millionaire. He won like $13 million or something like that. Do you remember them talking about that?
Oh yeah.
I don't remember the circumstances behind that either. But also, before we get into the next match, throughout the entire show, they were hyping the Giant and Hogan. Like in between every match, it was some sort of flashback package, hype package. Hogan gets his mustache shaved off. He becomes the dark Hogan in black.
Which I totally see why he kept that mustache, man. He just doesn't look right with that. But I tell you something else they were hyping throughout every segment almost was that damn 1-900 hotline.
1-900-999-900.
That was great. I was like, that's a blast from the past, man. Back when they were like, Mean Gene was like, I want to tell you about this, but I'm not going to tell you here. Call the 1-900 hotline.
So, listen to this shit, though. We were talking the other night, it's probably a month ago at this point, I don't know, about 1-900 numbers. Like, and how cool would it be? It's just a gimmick for Dead Pit to have a 1-900 number. So I looked into it. Evidently, in the United States, 1-900 numbers didn't exist, have not existed since 2013. They decommissioned that whole thing that long ago.
That
So
is crazy.
I think overseas they still are kind of out there. I don't know if it's a 1-900 number or what, but man, they made some serious cash on kids just pissing their parents off by calling that shit back in the day. Because I did it. Like I don't know how many different. Like usually at WrestleMania, because this was pre-internet, right? If I didn't get to check it out at my granny's house, which I'd listen to it, it was scrambled. I would call those online,
Wow.
and they
Your
would
parents
give you the
must have been pissed.
results. Yeah, they would give you the results very slowly. So there was one time it was like $70 or something like that. Yeah,
That is so funny.
Oh.
Yeah, I never ever called one of those numbers. I was like banned from calling that stuff.
Yeah, I was scared to death to do that.
You know, I wanted to call that WCW one, the WWE one, the WWF one, the Corey Haim one. You know, like I couldn't call any of those.
Well, those were like $1.99 for the first minute, 99 cents for every
Each
minute
additional
after.
minute, yeah.
Yeah. Next matchup, though, this one was a barn burner, boys. It was what? This one was very short, a minute and 30.
Dude,
So
the fucking, before we get into this match, though,
yeah,
the promo that he cut, like leading into this match, I think it was leading into this match, is one of the funniest fucking like Macho Man promos, too. Because he, it's like, I'm pretty sure he made it up, like just right there, some of the shit that he was saying. Because at one point he goes, I don't care if you're my friend. I can still beat you. Yeah. He started doing all this shit. I was like, what is he doing? This is the most bizarre promo like ever.
Was this
Some
the
of the-
one? I could have been wrong because I watched a couple WCW stuff this week. He wasn't. He didn't say something about like going on a date with the announcer girl, did he? Is that this? one?
No.
that
This
was-
was him and Mean Gene, I think, that were doing this
Alright.
promo. Yeah. But it was just like, I'm positive he just made up all the shit he was going to say, like right there, because none of it made any sense. And it was
That is so.
the
funny.
way that he enunciated some of the stuff was amazing.
free. Evidently, though, that this was Macho Man versus Zodiac, but it was originally the Macho Man versus the Ugandan giant Kamala. And what happened there? I don't know. I think Kamala left the company. I don't
There
think
was,
he came back.
There was, I looked into this because I was like, what happened here? Because they don't just like do this. And there's a rumor that Kamala left because he didn't want a job. He didn't want to do the job to Savage, which I thought was kind of odd if that's true, because I would think Kamala would do the job for Macho Man. I mean, that's not that. It ain't like
Right.
he's doing a job for fucking, Bill Dundee or anything. He's doing it for Macho Man. But that was the rumor. He just quit rather than do it.
So, yeah, they got the Zodiac in there, and really right off the bat, there's this little fan guy that jumps in the ring. Do you guys remember seeing this?
Yeah, like just some hippie looking dude that just like jumped in for like a split
Oh
second.
yeah.
And the wrestlers get out of the ring like immediately. That was kind of odd. And then the referee kind of takes care of the fight. Like that was just weird. But this match didn't last like I said. It was a minute and 30. It was a squash match pretty much. I mean, it was the freaking Zodiac. Hello, Jamie Hart.
The Zodiac. Like, did Daniel Bryan kind of steal his gimmick when you go back and think about it?
Yes. No. Yes.
They had so many of these weird freaking gimmicks around this time period. So Zodiac was part of the Dungeon of Doom as well, though, right?
Yeah.
I think that's underrated now, man. Like looking back.
Dungeon of Doom.
Yes, like just
I do too.
Just because like there was some really shitty kind of like wrestlers to come out of that, but the idea of it and the way that they kind of like executed it was really good. Like they had the Master and the Taskmaster and all that, like bringing out all these guys. I mean, that was pretty cool for that time period. It's just that unfortunately they couldn't come up with anybody worth of shit to come out of that dungeon. Really,
Basically, it was like built to like it. They basically took all these guys that like feuded with Hogan, built this stable so Hogan could just like fight all these guys for months and months and months. I mean, you got to think about who it was. It was like all his buddies. Like it was like, well, you had Kamala, you had Beefcake, then you had Earthquake was in there as the Shark. They brought Zeus in there. Remember, like he was in there for a while.
Yeah, they did.
And then
Yeah.
he was like called like what was
Gangsta.
he? Z Gangsta. Yeah, they had him. They had like the Giant, who was like Andre's son, supposedly. I mean, I don't know if Boss Man was in there at one point, but like they just had all these dudes that Hogan could feud with.
I'm thinking it was the next year was that uncensored 96 where they had that
Triple
that
cage
stacked
or whatever.
steel cage match.
Yeah. Z Gangsta.
It was a triple decker cage match with God. That was that was terrible. But continuing on, Mean Gene.
Sorry.
I was going to say Mean Gene Hotline. Yeah.
All kinds of Mean Gene Hotline. I was just saying that, like, the Shark, wasn't that just John Tenta? They just Earthquake?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I want to refresh. I think I'm a little bit behind you guys. Hang on just a second.
John Tenta. The Quakester. The Shark. Oh, hey, buddy.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. Who we got here? Is this UR or UB today?
Oh, this is just I'm just Uncle Bill, but in the Macho Man get up.
Oh, in the Macho Man.
See, yeah.
Where'd you get those glasses, brother?
Like
a
Spirit of Halloween, I think. Yeah.
Oh baby.
They got everything down there rad.
Are you good?
Yeah, I think so. I think I was just a little bit behind you guys. So.
Oh, I'm on this side now,
Yeah.
I'm not a shark. I'm a man.
Yeah. The next one up, Road Warrior Hawk versus Purisawa.
What
with
the
Colonel
fuck?
Robert Parker.
Okay, I had so many questions about this match. Like, number one, why was Colonel Parker with fucking Kurosawa? But beyond that, like, what was Road Warrior Hawk doing fighting him?
Who the hell was Kurosawa? That's what.
Yeah.
The build up to this match, like, was it just like, was there a build up?
I have no idea. This was so random. Like, where was Animal? Like, was he hurt? Like, did they just bring Hawk in? Like, what was the deal?
I don't know, man.
Well, evidently, Road Warrior Animal was not with the company, so Hawk was like a singles wrestler at this point in time. I don't think Animal would even get into the company until like the next year, and he's just briefly there, and then the Road Warriors went to WWF in like '97. But yeah, this was pretty much another like. How long was this match?
This match was fucking.
It was like 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like 3 minutes. Wasn't very long.
So basically, like Hawk dominates the whole match, right? He comes off as a flying clothesline on Tom Parker, or was it Rob Parker? Colonel Rob Parker? Yeah. So yeah, he clotheslines him and everything, and then like out of nowhere, like Kurosawa comes in and like just puts like 2 or 3 moves on him and then fucking pins him. And I'm like, what? Just an odd match. Just everything about it.
Yeah. There wasn't really, as far as in-ring matches, was there anything on the show that was really good in the ring? I don't think so. Maybe
I know what you're going to say.
Maybe the one with the 4 Horsemen and Sting.
Yeah, that might be the best. I'm looking at it. Yeah. It's all pretty shitty. Yeah. In terms of wrestling, like, yeah.
Yeah, there's not any barn burners here. This one's really interesting, though. Like we were saying earlier, this is from Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. So back in the day, the Sheik, Sabu's uncle, was like, Detroit was his territory. So he was in the corner of Sabu, his nephew, and was wrestling JL, boss. Do you know who JL is?
Good old Jerry Lynn.
Go. So this would become early ECW match, really, before both of those guys were there. This was his mask gimmick, Jerry Lynn, pre-ECW, and it ended up being like, I think the next night on Monday Nitro was Sabu's last match in WCW. Very short run
Now,
for
why did they
Sabu
say
in
that?
WCW.
Did they say why?
I'm
I
not
didn't know it
really.
either.
I'm not really sure. I know he wasn't happy there. It said that he returned to ECW at the November to Remember just the next month. So, wrestled the good old Hack Myers, as we all know and love him.
Now, when did Sabu get to WCW? I don't remember him being there long. Was he
It
there
was.
a bit?
I'm thinking. I'm thinking Sabu debuted maybe on the second or third Nitro, so it would have been like mid to late September, and was there for like a month, a little bit over a month. Anybody in the chat knows for sure, let us know. But was there for like a hiccup, man. Really.
Did you guys remember when I think it was the first spot, Sabu was like coming down or something, and Jerry Lynn like jumped over the top and just basically like kicked friggin' his father like in the head. And I'm like, was that supposed to happen, or was that like an accident? Because the guy had like a sword in his hand and shit, and he's like falling with it.
I think that was actually fucking. I think that was Sabu that did that though, wasn't it? Like he fucking kicked the Sheik in the head.
Oh, I don't know. Like, maybe it was Sabu, but somebody like jumped out. Sheik got kicked in the head. He's falling around. He's got like a sword in his hand. I'm like, if that thing's real, he's gonna cut himself.
A couple things I noticed, like right off the bat, like him coming down there, he could barely walk. Number one, the original Sheik.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the other thing too. Is like, so Jerry Lynn comes off the top, hits some sort of move, and then Sabu goes up and hits a move on Jerry Lynn. But I'm pretty sure that's him that like kicks Sheik in the fucking face, and he just falls over with that sword. Yeah, and
he was getting up, and it was like near the fans and stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you gotta be careful what he's doing with that sword.
From that point on, like it's pretty much just like a really sloppy ECW match, just a bunch of different like outside like flips and stuff like that. Just the whole thing is just like that.
Ryan in the chat said that he debuted on WCW September 11th. Dude, he was there a month. Like,
yeah, it makes sense. Yeah,
like I hate it here. Like, dude, you've been here like a month.
It was very short. And like I don't know if ECW was so small at the time, they just let him go and it was fine. But I mean, that's pretty much what happened. So that was another brief match. How long was that? 3 minutes and 25 seconds for that one.
Yeah, it was just, it was pretty bad. I mean, it was like an ECW match, really, but it was just not very good.
So the next matchup to that one, and again, man, I don't know if you guys remember this as well as me, but it seems like Ming was on every fucking show back in the day. He was on everything.
They're probably scared to death not put him on there. He's gonna kill us.
Saturday night shows, the main event, Nitro, the pay-per-views, all over the pay-per-view. So Lex Luger was still fairly new. He debuted the first Monday Nitro show, and they're kind of, I think Luger early on, wasn't he like a tweener? They didn't really know if it was.
I love that
guy or a
gimmick.
bad guy.
Yeah, I love that when he was like, they thought he was going to join the Dungeon of Doom for some reason, but like, what made me laugh about that is I still remember him and Sting like teaming, and Sting would like be in the front or whatever, and he'd be doing everybody's hands, and Lex would be doing it. As soon as Sting got in the front, Lex would be in the back, and like the fans would go to shake his hand. He wouldn't do it, but then when Sting looked behind him, he was like he was trying to like play it cool and shit. I thought that was so funny, man. Like so funny.
They briefly did that, didn't they? Where like he was trying to hide the fact that he was like a bad guy or whatever.
Yeah.
So he would constantly be like fucking, like he'd do stuff behind Sting's back and then act like, everything was cool when he turned around. Yeah,
exactly. I'd laugh because like that was like the thing when he came out. Like guys would shake his hand, like at the fans, he'd be like, then Sting would look at him and be like, it'd be funny, dude. I always loved Lex, man. I always did. This actually, like, post this for a while, I was kind of like over Lex, like Wolfpack Lex. Like I didn't like that.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Right.
But
Fubu Lex.
Yeah, I didn't like Fubu Lex with like the jeans and like a pipe or whatever he had. But like pre 95 or whatever Lex, like all the way through late 80s, early 90s, like man, I was a big Lex guy.
I gotta admit, like when his music hit, like that old school music in this pay-per-view, like I was marked out because that's some of the best like ring music to come down to the ring to, really.
We always used to make fun of Lex Luger in high school too, because a year or two after this, like every time he would have that goofy fucking.
Yeah. He would do that shit all the time.
Was his music like that?
Yeah, that was it at that point. Yeah.
I like the
And
creep show music better.
Most of the time, though, too, and I didn't really look into this too much. I should have for the intro of the show, but a lot of this music was like royalty free, like radio music. And occasionally you'll still hear, at least around here, some of the music and stuff playing in the background. One in particular that I remember hearing quite a bit was the Crash Holly. Well, this is WWF, which
Bob Holly, that music. That
the Bob Holly music.
Yeah.
How do you like me now? Not that one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's like. Yeah, I've heard that on like
have
multiple things before. No, that
so
and like the Hardy Boys, I would always hear like randomly.
Yeah, so this is like it's like tent music or something, or radio music or whatever that they use.
But wait, before you get into this match, though, before you get started in this match, like before this match is when they do some sort of weird ass like Hogan bike giveaway.
Oh my god, yeah.
That I was so still trying to figure out what was going on throughout this. Because there's no context to it. It's just like he shows up and there's like this little scared to death like Korean woman and like some
like
other dude
kid and stuff. Yeah.
And he's like, brother, he's like, take this bike, dude. And here's like Fast Ernie. Like some dude's like standing there that made the bike or whatever, and he's like, I bet I can get him to put you some more chrome on it, dude. Like, what is going on?
I don't know.
I have
man.
no idea.
Let me tell you something. Maniac Mike and Cadillac Jack, brother.
That's what it was. Yeah. That's what it was. He just made up names for him.
Banging down Venice Beach.
Well, the funniest part of it too is it's all Hogan with like no mustache, so it looked even like more weird.
And I'm not shitting you, man. Like I tried to count, but I lost count. It had to be 87 times or longer. He said, "Brother, brother, this bike from Harley, dude, brother. Let me tell you something, Mike and Jack, brother."
He was like
only the finest Harley Davidson, dude.
It's like talking to the little girl and stuff. She's like, "Why am I here?"
That woman, yeah, she just looked like so confused and petrified, just standing there. Oh, this big man's yelling at me. I don't know what's going on.
Eat that pasta mania, dude.
He's getting Maniac Mike and Cadillac Jack. Oh,
he really says that. That's legit. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Something else I made a note of here too. The Giant is only 23 years old.
I made a note of that too about how young he looks in the he looks like he's like in high school or something. I mean, if he wasn't 7 feet tall, like facially and everything, he just looks so young.
Well, you know that, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Giant here in a minute, but he was Hulk Hogan's protege, like early on. Like Hogan found him and had him trained and signed and everything. And the early promos, and there's one in this somewhere in the show. Yeah. He cuts a promo like Hogan.
He does. He sounds exactly like him and everything.
Well, you know something, me, Gene.
It's just like a deeper voiced Hogan. It really is.
Yeah. But Kevin Sullivan was with Ming in this match too. Seemed like it was 13 minutes. Man, it was a long fucking 13 minutes. Like it seemed like this match just kept going and going and going and going.
It was really super boring too, because like those two styles, like Luger and Ming, like just two big, like jacked up, slow dudes, just like running around bear hugging each other and stuff. That just doesn't really fly. Yeah. But one thing I did, one thing I did make a note of was Ming has the weirdest perm / cornrow mullet thing going on in this that I have ever seen. Like I don't know how long he kept that, but that is the weirdest fucking hairstyle. Like it's a perm up front. He's got it in like cornrows, but it's like a mullet in the back, so he looks like the Predator almost, but with a perm in the front.
Did
It's
you
a
guys
perm
ever used
mullet.
to? Did you guys ever used to? Ming always confused me because like I knew it was Haku, but I feel like he looked so different back in the day that I was like unsure, like if it was him or not. Because
Maybe that's what he was going for. He's just trying to look as different from Haku like as he could. I don't know.
yeah, because like Haku, like didn't and thing with Haku to me, it almost felt like Haku was like a wicked jobber back then, and Ming I feel like was like pretty.
Well, I think
He was being pushed pretty hard,
with,
and I was kind of like, that's weird that he's being pushed so hard. I always just remember Haku kind of being like
yeah.
shitty, you know?
Well, Ming was. I think he put on a lot more weight.
Yeah,
He
he
did,
did.
yeah.
When he was Haku, he was really small. But yeah, I mean, this match, man, this was a tough one.
To get through. It really was.
I know Bobby and Tony continue to talk about that damn sumo monster truck match throughout this whole match here, and WCW was bad for that too. I remember that a lot. Like, I don't know if it was Bischoff telling them, "Hey, put this big match over. It's Hogan." They're doing monster truck bullshit, and they just drove it into your fucking skull throughout the whole night.
Mhm.
And at the end of this one, I'd forgotten all about this gimmick or whatever. He's got like the golden spike Ming does that he hits Luger with, and they called it something.
The
Like
Asian
it was,
spike.
was it the
think
Asian?
it was-
But it was
something
something
like
else.
that.
Like some technical term or something that fucking it was either
Uh,
Mike Tenay or Tony Schiavone called it. Like it was something crazy. I can't remember what it was, but like yeah, I'd forgotten all about that he even did that.
So, yeah, they were also teasing dissension with Ming and Kevin Sullivan. Ming was another one that I think he was in the Dungeon of Doom as well.
He was, yeah.
He was. Yeah.
Mistaken. So yeah,
Was
Lex
it the-
Luger.
Tongan death grip.
No, that's his actual move thing. But this was
That was his finisher.
it was like a body part, like spike.
Trapezius?
That's it, the trapezius spike. I was like, what the fuck? Like they're really getting like technical. Nobody's gonna know what the hell that is. Just
Yeah,
call
I
it the
used to-
golden spike. That's fine.
You know what's funny is when I was a kid, I did a lot of like learning about the body parts from like Gorilla Monsoon, but it was like he used to always say like,
Uh-oh.
Oh shit!
I bet the power went out again. No,
"Oh,
wait, he's
dude,
back.
did it flicker?"
He's back. You froze
I
for a
just-
second.
You paused
froze.
there for a second.
Oh, the Gorilla Monsoon used to always say like the solar plexus, bread basket. Like he used to
Yeah.
always use like these weird terms and stuff. Trapezius.
So the next matchup, and I remember this because when I first saw this, I literally fucking cracked the hell up.
This
Because
is
we
one
were
of the
talking
best
about in
things
high
ever.
school. We were talking about in high school then. We're like, how many times has Flair turned on Sting over the years? Like, I mean, it's just ridiculous, right? So they were doing like this thing where Arn Anderson and Flying Brian was kind of semi-feuding with Ric Flair. He was trying to find the the perfect tag team partner. And of course, Sting's dumb enough to fucking be his tag team partner again. And they end up putting together this tag match. But throughout the night, they also, beat this into your head too, that somebody attacked Flair. He may not make the match. And then what's going to happen, boys?
It was weird.
So
yeah.
finally, yeah, and I don't understand the point in this. I mean, ultimately, it led to the reformation of the Four Horsemen, but
But how long were they like apart for at this point? Because I don't remember the Horsemen being like really gone for a while. Do you?
I think this is what because I looked up this too. Like Flair had lost a retirement match in at Halloween Havoc '94.
Against
And
who? Sting?
I can't remember, but like after that he was out for like it was somewhere between 10, 12 months or something like that. So there was a long period of time there where Flair was just completely. I don't know what the hell he was doing or what real reason he was out for, but like, yeah, I mean there wasn't any Horsemen or anything like that for quite.
that
a
was
while.
the Hogan. He was wrestling Hogan right at that the Halloween Havoc the year before.
That must
Oh,
be
yeah.
when he came back.
Probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So okay, I'm trying to I'm getting confused of like where I am in time frame. Okay, so after this, Is this where they form the Horsemen and then bring Benoit in as the fourth guy? Is that when this is all leading to?
Isn't it like?
Yeah, Benoit
Because-
is the fourth guy. I'm pretty sure. And
Because
then
it's
Pillman
Arn
leaves.
Pillman. Oh yeah,
Flair.
Pillman leaves. They bring in Malenko, didn't they?
They bring in Malenko? Fuck,
No, I
man,
think
don't know.
Mongo was the.
Mongo, baby.
Mongo,
Yeah.
yeah. Mongo.
And then Malenko comes in after Mongo.
Pepe. What was that thing's name? What was his
Pepe.
name?
Let me tell you something, my little tiny dog, baby, Peppy.
Flair used to always say that. He'd be like, Chris, Benoit, Arn Anderson, and Mongo. It's the same Mongo, like Michael. Poor Mongo though, he's in real bad
Yeah,
health right now.
he's messed
Yeah, I
up.
saw
Yeah.
photos. One thing that I definitely wrote down here, though, because I forgot about it, and the cool thing about the Peacock, from what I've saw with this show, is they were using all the original music. They didn't replace anything that I noticed, at least. And the Arn Anderson theme song, man, I hadn't heard that in years, and I was like, oh, that's so badass, because very much like the Four Horsemen theme with the solo guitar and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a separate song. So
Did you guys
And
both
Arn
watch this on Hulu? I mean, on Peacock?
Yes, I did.
yeah.
Dude, how do you? Is it just me, or is like Peacock like for wrestling like really weird to find shit on there? Do you find that?
I mean, you
I
have
had
to
to
like
search
purposely
for it.
search for it. Yeah, there's
like-
no rhyme or
Halloween Havoc-
reason.
Episode 1, I'm like season
Episode
1, I'm
se-
like,
it
what
goes,
the
yeah,
hell?
episode 7. Like I was like, what? I did like was kind of confused by that. Yeah.
It's like such a pain.
Yeah,
in the
that
ass.
is kind of confusing for sure. They should have just put by year on there, you would think, but Flair at first no shows the match and then kind of shows up a little bit later, right? This was a longer match. It's like 17 minutes.
This was
or something
actually
that.
like not a bad match, pre Flair and all that stuff, because you actually had a couple guys in there that could actually work. You had Sting and Brian Pillman and Anderson, so it's actually pretty well done there for the first 10 or 11 minutes. You've got like a lot of interesting stuff. Like one thing I'd never seen before anybody do, and I thought this was pretty killer, is like Arn uses like Brian Pillman's head. Like he just takes Sting and like throws his head into Brian Pillman's head and to like kind of like knock him out. And so I've never seen anybody in like a tag team do that. So I thought that was pretty good.
Brad Houston's got an interesting one here I'd bring up before I forgot. Do you guys have any of your wrestling tapes still?
I got all of them.
I don't have anything. Nope.
As far as my
I do-
commercial tapes, I have all of the
Yeah.
ones that I had back in the day. But the biggest part of my collection was I did internet tape trading, like wrestling stuff, early days of the internet. And I only have maybe one tote full of those left.
I don't have many like ones that you bought at the store. I have all of mine that I actually recorded off of the pay-per-views at my grandmother's. Like I have all those, but I don't have many like in a Coliseum package or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, the vast amount of those tapes that I record, I just didn't. There's probably 1,000 of them, man. Honestly, so I didn't have room to keep them, but I still have a few. I've hung on to a few for sure. But next matchup from this, well, I guess we got to give the result away first, though. We didn't talk
Oh yeah,
about
you
that.
can't
Of course,
can't leave out the
Flair.
end. Goddamn.
Flair immediately turns on Sting, and it's the
Yeah.
funniest shit ever.
Yeah, that's the one thing I noticed that was so great is that there's not even like he doesn't even try to like even wrestle or anything. Like immediately when he gets tagged in, he just punches Sting in the face, and that was it. Like they all just gang up and beat the shit out of him.
But knowing like this feud, like, did anybody think this was not going to happen? You're looking across, you're like, okay, there's Arn Anderson. Sting and Flair have like been in the biggest rivalry for like the last like 10 years. Like, how did they think this is going to like, oh, they're friends now? It's fine.
That's the thing we used to like make fun of so much is like like even at that point to like a 16-year-old kid, it's obvious he's gonna turn on him like.
It used to just show that Sting was like the biggest idiot because he'd always be like, Sting, like, I'll be your partner. Like, oh, okay.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, dude, you've gone through this so many times. Why do you keep saying yes? Sting's like such a good friend.
Yeah,
and
'cause
he's
like-
just, like so forgiving.
Sting
always.
would have like a. This last time he cut a promo, he was like, "If you turn on me again, brother, I swear I'll kill you," or whatever. And of course he did.
Not only that, but like Flair also like did that whole thing where he dressed like the Black Scorpion and like made Sting's life hell for like a year, and Sting still forgave him.
He's like, "It's fine."
Yeah.
Let's just
That'd be
tag
all right.
up.
You can dress up and torment me for a year. I have to
gotta
get
forgive and
RoboCop to
forget.
help me. And shit. He was getting bullied so bad he had to go get RoboCop to pay him to help him out. It's like, oh, it's okay, Flair. I'll team with you though.
Yeah.
So
Oh my god.
they do a whole after this match here. This is a DQ, right? Is that the result? Yeah, defeated Flair and Sting won. Defeated Pillman and Arn Anderson by disqualification, and that would ultimately. Yeah,
guy's ass
ultimately
kicked.
lead
That's about
to
it.
the Four Horsemen reforming after that. They were hyping the hell out of, this is match one of two matches they were doing with Hogan and the Giant, the Sumo Monster Truck Challenge.
Yeah, brother.
And still, this is the only one of these they ever did, thank God.
Man.
I don't even get it. I mean,
So they brought a fucking dude in that built monster trucks, and they interviewed him like 10 minutes before this match, and they were like, when he was trying to sell the whole thing, he's like, brother, it's got a 5,000 horsepower, like whatever in it, and like they're going to be welded together, and if anything happens, it'll blow up and kill them both, and all this, just trying to add any, because they must have knew at that point like how fucking shitty this match was going to be. So they're just trying anything like to hype it up.
it was, man, this was a
So, yeah,
weird
they were-
freaking thing. So odd.
They weren't like even in the same. It was in another arena, right? It's on top of Cobo Hall, which was probably like across the street or something.
Yeah, it was directly
And
across the street of it.
Obviously, it was recorded. Obviously, they had edited it and recorded it at an earlier date. But like, the concept of this is so fucking like, who would even come up with this? Uncle Bill's talking about earlier. What do? Weld the two trucks together.
Well, that's what they say. But I mean, they bring in a guy that actually welds something for like literally 30 seconds. I don't think that's how it works. It just looks like that they just had like the some sort of bar that connected both of them in the front. Like,
Well, what kind of event is that? Is that even like a monster truck thing where you just try to,
no,
like,
I don't think that's even a, because okay, I was sitting
I
here
don't think
thinking
so.
that I was thinking this while I was watching. I was like, the only thing that makes Monster Truck even remotely watchable is them crushing the cars. So you take that out of it, and it's just like more fucking boring than NASCAR. It's just like the whole thing was just them pushing like a little bit this way. Like 20 minutes of that. I'm watching it. I'm just, God, this is like some of the worst.
You know what though? I will give them credit because I was looking close, and it is them. They are driving the things. I thought maybe there was like when they showed the far footage, it would have been someone else.
Yeah,
but
they got some like other dude in there with them, just a random like dude to make sure that they don't kill themselves.
I think it must have been the camera guy, but I'm sure he was probably like something else too because
Yeah.
they kept putting the camera on inside and then on the outside. But yeah, the event was weird. It was just like, what did they have to do? Like they had to like pass the cone or something. Like it's like tug of war, but like with monster trucks basically.
It was sumo, yeah. Like you had to push
sumo,
like the
yeah,
other
yeah,
person's truck. But what made that so killer is then they go, Bischoff is like, we got 2 explosive charges out there. If they hit them, then it's going to blow up and they could like explode.
It'll be all over with, boys.
Yeah.
5 minutes is how long this match was, though. It did feel a lot longer than 5 minutes.
I swear to God, I thought it was like 20 minutes long.
It was probably 4.5 minutes too long. So Hogan wins, and immediately the Giant gets pissed off and jumps out of the truck, like, "Rah!" and
He does
goes
that
and
exact
picks a
thing.
fight with Hogan.
Yeah, he's like, Hogan.
"Rah!"
And
And then they fight, and the Giant gets up on the ledge of Cobo Hall. He's literally like, and falls back.
I like doing that.
And The best thing about it is Hogan, man. Like, I remember
It is.
in high school, we made fun of this shit so much because Hogan immediately was like, oh my God, brother.
Get some help, dude. Somebody's dead back here,
Oh
man.
no.
He's like,
I'm going to
rolling
jail,
around.
brother.
He's like, I'm going to be doing life, brother. Get out here.
Oh,
Go
God.
get him, dude.
Oh God, brother.
That'd have
He's
been the
like,
best if the cops came and just like
runs off.
arrested.
what if Hogan was like, holy shit, dude, he's dead. Somebody get out here, man.
Didn't they say he was dead? Didn't someone say the Giants dead?
Well, that's the thing. Heenan sold the shit out of this for like
Yeah.
the next 20 minutes. He's like, get somebody down there and figure out what's going on. He's got to be dead. Like he either hit the sidewalk or the river or something.
The Giants dead.
would
Yeah.
River, by the way. Is that a fucking castle? They have a boat or something?
How killer would it have been though? Like right after it happened, if Hogan, like the cops came and like took Hogan away and shit.
That would have been a
What's
great
so
idea.
Funny, though, it's like they fucking recorded this and they chose to. Okay,
Hogan
this is
goes to
good.
jail, dude.
Oh God, brother.
That wasn't even the best part of this, though. The best part's coming up when he gets in the ring and starts talking about it. He's like,
But yeah, the whole thing, giant fall. Oh, you know, it's awesome.
he does.
How could they have that gimmick where this dude falls off the top of a building and then like comes back later to wrestle? Like they didn't think anything of this. Like how stupid this is. Like
He
he
doesn't-
doesn't like he died and then he'll come back and like walk in the ring.
And he completely no-sells it. He just walks
That's
back in the
not
ring
even
like nothing
close
happened.
To the goofiest, not even close to the goofiest thing on the show, though.
Was he
We'll be
like I
talking about
forget?
that
Was he
too.
when he came back? Was he like dirty and stuff like Mero?
No, that
Well, he
was
wasn't.
what like didn't make any sense whatsoever. He wasn't like he apparently had time to change and like I don't know, get a towel and dry off if you fell in the river and get out there.
Shower and draw.
Yeah.
It would have been so killer if he had like sticks in his hair and stuff. Like,
Oh yeah.
like he hit a tree or something.
That would have been better. I mean, that would have been slightly.
He'd come up with like, one of those 6-pack holders on his arm and like a bleach bottle. It's like I came out of the river.
Yeah, how, and the announcers though are playing it pretty straight, like it really happened. Like what you guys saw there, that was not part of the show. It wasn't supposed to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say, as a kid,
So-
when I saw this, I kind of bought it. Like I remember thinking to myself, like, "Wow, did he just kill him?" Like, because we had to have been around the same age. Like I was in middle school when this came out. I don't know if you guys were too.
We were in fucking high
We
school,
were,
dude. We were like sophomores in high
We were
school.
sophomore in high school.
So yeah, by that point we were like, this is bullshit. they didn't do anything.
We were just making fun of it. Like I clearly remember, because like the cool thing about Monday Nitro is they pretty much gave away a lot of the big things from the pay-per-view the night after. So if you didn't catch it on the pay-per-view, they would pretty much show all the really, fun stuff on the TV show. So yeah, that was the sumo monster truck match. Next one up from that, and I'm not really sure like what led up to Macho Man and Luger because they both wrestled already before. I don't know what the rules.
This
were.
was some sort
what
of
the deal was.
they had to beat whoever, like they had to beat the person to get to the next person. So like I guess Macho had to beat Zodiac, so it would have been Zodiac versus Luger had Zodiac won or whatever. But so there was the whole thing too that we didn't even mention where it was like in the Luger Ming match, like Taskmaster comes in and like Ming's getting ready to pin him, and he like makes him like lose by disqualification or whatever, so Luger can progress on in the match to get the Macho Man, which should have been
Alpha Romero mentioned this on here, and I had to bring it up. The drunk Hawk falling off the Titantron, right? So I was there at that show. That was a show at Rupp Arena when they did that, and that was the funniest fucking thing to see live. Because from our viewing angle, from where we were at, we could literally see somebody throwing a dummy off the Titantron.
That's right.
Oh, but all right. So the Macho Man and Luger's not a very long match either. I think they were kind of teasing like from the first night on his debut. You know, Luger, Macho Man. I don't trust Luger. No, he's a snake. Yeah. And
You
they were
guys
kinda
do good
going
macho.
that
You
route.
both do really good Macho Man impressions. I
There
don't think I
was-
can do a good one.
There's that point in it too where like Luger comes in, he like comes in the ring and he's like, you know, you can see him talking. He's like wanting to shake hands with Macho Man, and Macho Man like, and then he just like attacks him, starts beating the shit out of him.
Oh,
And so-
no, I don't trust you, Lex. I saw what you did.
So
Little did he know what would later happen with Lex and Miss Elizabeth. So,
right.
but yeah,
I
that's the
don't trust
storyline.
That's
that
a-
Luger. He knew he was
That's a-
saying from back then he didn't trust Luger. He knew something was gonna happen.
I got a good intuition, yes, sir. I do. But yeah, kind of a short match. Macho wins after Jimmy Hart comes out and get involved, and that would lead us up to the what happened towards the end there, the last match, and they had to show right after this a replay of the Giant getting killed. They showed an instant replay of that earlier.
There's a murder on our show here. Watch it again. Like,
See, I was thinking like
Let's show.
it was like, you know, like if they were trying to sell this as being real, they did a really horrible job of that because they just move on completely with everything. The only person concerned at all is Bobby Heenan, who's like constantly selling it throughout. Like he's the one that's like, "We've got a murder down here, damn it! Find out what's going on." Like, Hogan murdered.
it's like when Owen Hart died. If they kept showing like different angles and replays. And
Yeah,
stuff, like,
and they were just
Right.
like they just
Look
moved
what
along
happened
with
here,
it.
folks.
Jesus.
So yeah, they show a replay of that, and this leads us up to the world title match: Hogan versus the Giant. Everybody's like, "Oh, we're the Giant. We haven't heard anything on what's going on with him."
They're
Is he
basically
still
they're just like,
alive?
we think he's dead. Like we're just gonna wait. I swear to God, at one point, like Bischoff was like, well, I mean, we got to move along with the show. he's probably dead, but here we go.
Hogan comes out there, and I think I wrote it down verbatim what he said. He says, "What just happened there, dude? Wasn't supposed to go down like that, man." And then just out of nowhere, like the music starts playing for the Dungeon of Doom, and here comes, you know, the Giant unscathed.
Completely,
You know,
just
he's not even
normal.
got any. Yeah, he don't even have hair wet, dirt on him or anything. You know, poor Johnny B. Bad earlier was dirty as shit, just changing a tire. But the Giant can fall off of a damn building, and he just looks like the regular old Giant.
Was Hogan like
Not a
pleading
mark
like
on
like
him, brother.
when the cops grabbed him? Like, it wasn't supposed to go down like that, dude. Like, oh, all right,
Hogan-
like, you can go.
Well, this is the part that killed me too, man. Like, and I'm not sure what the background behind this was either. I guess he was supposed to be like Dark Hogan, like Shadow Hogan, like in Zelda or whatever. But he takes his fucking headband off, and he's got like the Taskmaster like drawings on the top of his head.
Yeah.
Like at that point, like they should have just put him in jail because he's like a whack job. At that point, he's got like fake paint on his head and shit like weird.
So apparently, even when he thought he was dead, he prepared for this match. He's like, I want to draw this shit on my head, brother.
He's doing like mean eyebrows. Like,
Yeah,
he looks mad.
Well, he probably already had it on there from earlier. He had it done earlier.
that's what it was. Yeah, he had done the beginning of the day, I guess.
He
Something
drew
else I
sad
thought was-
eyebrows, so you'd feel bad for him.
I thought was interesting too, and Uncle Bill's going to really get a kick out of this. So we said that the Giant was 23 years old here. Hulk Hogan was just 42 years old.
Wow.
This match.
Do we look like do we look like we were like kind of Hogan's age?
That's
Yeah,
bizarre.
that's
Hogan
just,
looked 42 in like the 80s.
He
Like,
did. He looked like a leather handbag in this, so I don't know.
he was 42.
Satchel ass. This was pretty much just a brawling match, lots of bear hugs and rest holds, and this was the Giant's first wrestling match.
I was kind of amazed at how much shit he could do, though, man. Like talking about the Giant, like he did a couple of like he was going for a leg drop or something, and he got up there, like he had some elevation, and then he goes over the top rope in one part of it where Hogan like clotheslines him. I mean, he was doing all kinds of stuff that somebody that big has got no business doing.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
He used to do drop kicks and stuff. He was agile for a big dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty light at this time too. This was before he really put on a whole lot of weight.
Before he was the big slow. Yeah.
Yeah. And but also something else to take note of too. Kevin Sullivan was all over this pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And he was the booker at this
Booker
time.
man.
So that kind of makes sense. It seems like Kevin Sullivan was almost like, the feature bad guy on these shows up until, the NWO stuff and all that. But yeah, I think it said he was the booker from like 94 to like 96, 97, something like that.
What's funny is I was managing a gym in Providence, and there was like this older guy that was there, and he was like a bigwig judge in town. And, I knew him pretty well. And one day he was like walking in and something was on TV about wrestling. Oh, the trucks were here, like around Providence, that WWE was in town, like Raw. And everybody was talking about it. I could see him out the window, and I was like, oh, the trucks are here for wrestling or whatever. He's like, oh, you like wrestling? I'm like, yeah. He's like, my cousin's a wrestler. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, he's retired now, though. Kevin Sullivan. I'm like, what the hell? And I ended up meeting Kevin Sullivan at a convention. I was like, oh, I see a cousin Frank or whatever. And he's like, no way, really? Blah, blah, blah. So it was just so funny that his cousin was Kevin Sullivan, like out of everybody. I'm like, what is Kevin Sullivan like? And he's like, oh, he lives off on an island or something, he said to me.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I don't imagine that much. So funny.
Well, he worked for WCW for a long time, was probably making a shit ton of money around this time period too.
I mean, he was a fairly good wrestler and a fairly good like talent and a great booker. Like Kevin Sullivan really doesn't get that much credit, but he
doesn't.
He was really good. Anyway, the match with listen, there's
all kinds of shit that happened towards the end of this match.
Yeah, this has become like a meme. It really has at this point. The end of this fucking match has become, and I still watching it. Like I knew what was going to happen, and I'm still like, what? Did they not like practice this at some point and be like, this looks fucking ridiculous? It's like somebody had to okay the end of this match and just be like, yeah, that looks killer. Let's do it.
I don't know, man. Like because there's a lot of stories behind this, like a lot of last minute shit. Like, are you guys talking about the appearance at the end already? We talking about that?
Well, I mean, like we can lead up to that. I mean,
okay, yeah, go ahead.
I'm just talking about the first thing that happens.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jimmy Hart turns on the Hulkster,
right?
And then Luger comes out there. So. Also, I think this was on like WCW Saturday Night. They had the Master out there, and they briefly show the Yeti coming out of like a frozen like block of some sort.
So stupid.
And then people are like, "What?"
It doesn't even make sense. It's so dumb. Like I don't know. I will get to it, but it's a lot to say about this.
So, what they decide to do, and ends up being probably one of the more awkward like moments in wrestling history, right? I mean, this was the main event of a big pay-per-view. This was the finish of the whole damn thing. Was, you had the Giant was doing his big bear hug on Hogan. And then,
this is what killed me, man.
Here comes this fucking mummy, the Yeti.
The Yeti.
The Yeti. The Yeti.
And the thing is, and he's like,
he's literally walking like that, yeah.
And comes in, and it honestly looks like he's trying to hump Hogan when they do that double bear hug thing.
Yeah, like that's the part of it where I was like, somebody had to like look at this and be like, man, like, I don't know if I would do this.
You think Hogan's in the middle like the fuck? What the? What you guys doing?
Yeah,
What's
he's
it doing to
probably
my
like,
butt, brother.
he's like, dude, stop this shit, man. This looks stupid. Like,
I mean,
it really does.
Was the idea like a double bear hug? Was that what the idea
Yes,
was?
like he reaches around, grabs the giant, and he's like pulling himself, like trying to squash him or something. But it looks,
It really looks more like a group hug.
yeah.
It's so bad. Like who? Yeah, you're right. Like who okayed this? Like, did they rehearse it at all? Like you're gonna grab him here, you're gonna grab him here. That's fine. Like they
Yeah,
could have done
it looks good.
anything. They could have done anything. He could have flipped around, pushed him, and he could have like clotheslined him for all I care. It's like anything but that. And the whole idea of it.
The Yeti kind of goes in and he goes in and out of character there too. Like and like,
yeah.
I guess somebody says something to him and he's back again doing that bullshit.
He stops and he does just stop. And he's acting normal. He's just kind of standing around, and then he just goes.
He jumps back into it.
But do you remember like? So originally it was supposed to be Giant Gonzalez. That was what it was supposed to be, and that's why Yeti kind of makes sense. The name, right? Like if it's Giant Gonzalez with the furry suit. And shit, like,
it does.
But he got sick, really, like, or something happened, and they had to change it quick. So they like grabbed the big dude, like Ron, whatever his name was, Ron
Stud.
Yeah, they grabbed him, like, dude, you're gonna be the Yeti now, and like they didn't know what to put him in. And they said they were like running around Universal Studios and found like mummy shit, and like just said, "Oh yeah, wear this," but like with no thought of like how that makes zero sense. Yeti and that's a mummy, and it comes out of ice block. Like it's like nothing makes sense. And then to think like, wait, how's this guy gonna ever work in this outfit? Like going forward.
So what I'm thinking is Giant Gonzalez, he was going to use that same suit and maybe be called the Yeti, right?
Yes,
and they just didn't want to change.
Exactly.
They didn't want to change the name, or they were too sorry to change the name.
Maybe, yeah.
So that makes a little bit of sense there.
Maybe they had said it like, oh, like something about a Yeti, possibly like a week ahead or 2 weeks, and then when they realized the Gonzalez thing wasn't going to work, it's like, oh shit, we already mentioned something about a Yeti or something. I don't know. Like maybe that's why they didn't change it. But yeah, it makes sense if it was Giant Gonzalez with that suit, but not a mummy.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean that's never made any sense. But what makes even less sense is like why the Yeti wants to butt hump Hogan in this. Like it's just like, and it happens a couple different times too. Like, and then I think like don't they get like so Macho Man and Luger run down there like to try to help Hogan, right? And this is even worse. So and then of course like Luger turns heel, but then the Yeti and Giant like start doing that to fucking Macho Man. It's like pulling back and forth. It's like he's like, oh shit, oh man,
Now
this looks like dog shit. Yeah.
I told you not to. I told you not to trust Luger.
That's what he's saying. I knew it. Yeah.
Also, too,
Gotcha.
something I want to bring
Luger's
up.
idea.
Because I know Garrett's a big Luger mark, right? And they didn't really let him do the torture rack very much in WWF. What do you guys think about the torture? He gets the torture rack on Hogan at the end of this match here. What do you
I
think
love the
about that
torture
move?
rack.
I love the torture rack.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was different. No one's done it since him, really. Like, it's a move that's pretty badass, and like no one's ever stolen that, right?
Yeah, 0% chance of anybody getting hurt. Looks good, like doesn't do anything whatsoever, but looks like it could do something. Like,
Does it really look like it could do something though?
I mean, yeah, if you were really like torquing that, like it could, but I mean, he's just kind of like.
I used to give it to my brother all the time.
But if you were
thought it looked
pulling down, like
it really doesn't look like he's doing a whole lot to him. Like that's the thing I always thought. Like the torture
but I
rack
mean,
was kind of
does though, because you think this dude, if he wanted, he could break you on his upper back. I wouldn't want to be up there and him pulling down on me. I thought it was really a real cool, effective move. But the problem with a move like that is like, is there people he can't do it to? Didn't he do it to like Giant at one point?
Yeah, I was going to say, dude, he did it to.
I mean,
that's Giant. He did it to like Roadblock. You remember that sack of shit? That guy was like 400 pounds.
Well,
he did it to him.
Hey man, he did it to Hogan. Is a thick motherfucker too. Like a lot of people don't realize he's like 6'5", very muscular, thick. guy. So, I mean, any of those guys would be hard to get that move in.
The one thing I used to bother me about the Rack with Luger when he was like babyface Luger, like he'd always like. Do you guys remember like Flash Funk in WWE? Every 2 seconds he'd do this. Like he's gonna go do his move, but like he'd never do it, but he'd always just be like. And the same thing with Luger. Luger would walk around like, like, and then like he wouldn't do it, and then he'd go over to the next guy like he's about to do it, but I was like, he never did it. Like that's what used to piss me off. He just run around like. Like signaling like he's about to do it.
I tell you one thing about Luger I'd forgotten too is like the way that he threw those fucking clotheslines, which is ridiculous, where he just kind of like hits you right. And then they mentioned it. I think it was Heenan that mentioned it. Like, oh, he was in a motorcycle accident. He's got like a plate in his forearm. That's why he's like, he's coming at you like that, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, God. WCW and their fucking gimmicks.
Hercules Hernandez, did he do the Rack? I don't remember that.
I don't know. You
Didn't
know who I
he?
did?
I thought he did, yeah.
You know who I think did it for a bit was Bill Kazmaier. Remember him? He was in WCW for like a cup of coffee.
God, he was only in there for how long was he in there? Like maybe 2 or 3 months or something.
Yeah, I think he did it as well.
He was at the 91 Halloween Havoc. I remember him in that one. But yeah, this show, man, like the crowd was pretty much silent at the end. I think everybody was like, "What the fuck is this?"
That's one thing.
The Yeti was not the first mummy in professional wrestling, even at this point.
Uh-oh.
Smoky Mountain Wrestling. I was actually at one of those shows. James Vandenberg, I think he was just called James Mitchell or whatever in Smoky Mountain Wrestling, brought in Prince Karras, which you can look it up on YouTube. I tried to get a video ready, but it flagged, so I didn't put it up. The video's on YouTube. It's a mummy, and there's like a fucking latex mask, like a skull mask that's over his head, and then they wrap it up like a mummy. Like it is maybe even goofier than the Yeti.
ain't nothing goofier than the Yeti.
And this guy had a wrestling career too. He actually had matches. So when somebody slammed him, like I guess they put baby powder or talcum powder or something like that all over him. So dust and shit would fly everywhere whenever he got hit.
Killer. It's a good idea, really.
Hey, at least they were thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, was the plan like Hogan versus Yeti? And if so, did it happen? Like, I don't remember like what happened to Yeti.
I think they scrapped the Yeti shit not too long after this.
I watched the Nitro after because it's on the network. The Yeti was nowhere to be seen. I don't think he ever was on anything else at all. I think that was his one.
Backstage.
I don't know if he was called the Yeti, but like Big Ron Studd or whatever, like remember he was like a ninja or something after this. Like did the Yeti turn into a ninja for some reason? Or am I like making that shit up? Let me
I don't remember that. I mean it could be, but I don't recall it.
I almost feel like the Yeti became a ninja.
I'm sure that Hogan after this show was like, "Don't you bring that fucking Yeti in here anymore, dude. I had it with this crap.
I'm going to leave, brother. You get that fucker out of here.
That Yeti don't work for me, man.
I've got creative control, brother."
Yeah, that's what I thought. The Yeti was Reese, right? Like,
yeah, it was. Yep.
Yeah.
The Yeti is taller than the Giant.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, here I got it right here. Ready? Following Halloween Havoc, the Yeti's ring attire went from mummy to a ninja. Reese only made 3 more appearances at that character. He was an entrant in the 60-man battle royal at World War III. And it said he was also in a match against Brian Houston at WCW Prime. In 1996, Ron Reese character was renamed Super Giant Ninja as his final appearance as the character. That is so funny. Super Giant Ninja. What's his name?
Because when you think of a ninja, you automatically think of a big 7'2", like jacked up dude.
Super Giant. What's he gonna name me? Super Giant Ninja.
Like, that's definitely a Japanese gimmick. It's got to be Super Giant Ninja.
Do you guys remember the World War III shows? The gimmick for World War III
with the triple ring, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
3 rings. It was 60-man over the top battle royal. I think it was 60. Is that right? 60.
It was 60. Yeah.
We watched
It was
one
twice
of
the
those.
number of the Rumble. So the deal is too is it was 3 different cameras, and I almost guarantee, like if you tried to watch one of those shows on the network now, where everybody's got widescreen TV, you're probably not going to be able to tell anything that's going on, because even back then, it was kind of annoying to watch.
My
they
recollection
have-
of it was that
it-
they had a camera dude like outside of the cage, and in one of them you couldn't see shit. One of those like, and then like at some point they started putting them inside and outside, and like like following them around and stuff like that, so you could actually see what in the hell was going on. So I guess they kind of figured out that wasn't the best. I don't
Yeah,
know,
World War III
ring
was
for
like that other incident where Hogan, like, I think there's 3 that I know of where Hogan loses, but then like caused like a huge fit, like thinking the fans are gonna be behind him. I think he got knocked out by Savage. He ran in the ring like all bullshit, like it's not fair. Like it's like the
That's-
3rd time he's done that, man.
Well, one thing I noticed about this, I don't know if you all noticed it when you were watching this, but like when Hogan starts doing the whole like hulking up thing, which he does towards the end of the match with the Giant in this, like nobody was really getting into it. Like there was not a big like pop like there was before when he was in WWF for the hulking up and all that stuff. So it's actually
I think people. It was time for him to turn heel when he turned heel. I mean, I think that was a good move, and he probably realized that at the time that the whole Hulkamania, the red and yellow, needed to take a little bit of a hiatus.
Yeah,
it wasn't over like that anymore.
well, because he was also at that point he was wearing the black because he was like getting, like you said, the Dungeon of Doom was like turning him dark or whatever. So he was playing with the idea of like taking the yellow and red away. And then he obviously had to have been out for a while after this because NWO debuted when? June of 96. So I mean, he probably took a little bit of time off because he had come back for that after like some kind of injury. So he probably wasn't around much longer after this. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think it was very much longer after this. I know he was filming some movies too. I think he
Was
originally
he filming
shaved
that
the
damn
Shaved the
Thunder in
mustache off
Paradise
for that.
shit, or was that?
Yeah, he did Thunder in Paradise, and then
Yeah.
the High Noon, the Three Ninjas High Noon
Yeah.
movies, why he shaved his mustache.
And when he
Pretty
showed up
sure.
with like the hairpiece on or whatever,
Yeah,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
that was killer.
yeah, that was part of it too. So they were probably working on that movie a little while. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, interesting time period definitely for WCW, and it was a lot of. I mean, this was not a good show by any means, but I enjoyed the hell out of watching this again for some reason.
I can, like I said, like WCW now, like to me is just such a fun watch. Like between all through the 90s, I feel like from 90 to all the way to 2000, I feel like is really, really entertaining. Even during these dark times, like it just still works. It's like in a funny way, and they had different gimmicks in there like throughout the years. And I'm always down to watch some WCW for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I
And
said,
this
it's
one-
like it's one of the best worst pay-per-views. Like it's just entertaining as hell to watch. Like everything in it, the heel turns. Like there's 2 heel turns in this that are amazing. The Yeti, the bear hug shit, Hogan and his Taskmaster gimmick and all that. There's a lot about this that's amazing.
Well, there were probably only a handful of those overly goofy WCW pay-per-views left before they went more of a serious, whenever Scott Hall debuted, they kind of quickly, and I think a lot of those shows are fun too. Like right when the NWO first gets there, probably the first, I don't know, throughout all of 96 is a pretty fun time to watch. And then, early 97 and everything, everybody and their mother were getting in the NWO, and then it kind of just watered it down.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I'm always down to make it a tradition if we do Halloween Havocs every October. We pick a different one, or because there's some good ones. Did we ever do Chamber of Horrors? Like that's a great one.
No.
The one with
No.
Jake Roberts is a good one. There's a lot of good ones out there. Like around this time. where
only-
it's really cool.
I was searching for it. The only one that we did is the WrestleManiacs was the 92 one with Jake Roberts. We did do that one.
Okay.
But all the other ones are, we haven't touched. So
Chamber of Horrors was my first one I ever saw, and I was like, it's still one of my favorites because it was just so off the wall. You know, they took a lot of chances with different
that's
things.
probably
back
my
then.
favorite too. They had a lot of random shit in that too. Like the main event was the opening fucking match too. Like that was
Right.
the weirdest thing ever.
Yep.
But I still have the pay-per-view version of that on tape. The unedited version. So I don't know. That's the only one I ever watched. So I don't really know what they have on the network
The
version.
network, yeah. I'm like, so like
Boss?
when we're done, I'm definitely gonna go watch some more WCW. I think right now, like I'm just like in the mood now.
Yeah, like I said, like
Yeah.
before you came on, like I just started watching the Halloween Havoc '96 one, like because it after '95 went off, it just automatically like goes on to '96, and like it was starting off killer, but it was just a completely different vibe. Like that was by the time that pay per view rolled around, NWO was in there and everything. So like the first match is Dean Malenko versus like Rey Mysterio. So that was that time period. Like that was the first match of like Halloween Havoc '96. So I mean, by
But there
that
was
point,
actually like good. There was like that. Those two, I don't know if that's the pay per view I'm thinking of, but they had a lot of great matches. Those.
oh
two
yeah,
together.
like that was the cruiserweight title match. So like that shit was amazing back at that time.
Yeah, but guys, I mean, we had a pretty good crowd in here for this. I know that this is not typically what we talk about, but I think it's fun to change it up a little bit. And I was excited. Hey, maybe we can do some more of these at some point. I mean, I know not every month or anything, but I mean, it would be fun to go back and look at some of these old shows every once in a while for sure.
Oh, there's so
Yeah.
much to laugh about. That's what I like about it. Is like so much to kind of just nitpick and laugh at. So no, I'm definitely down for that.
Cool. All right, guys. But yeah, everybody in the chat hanging out with us. I think old Curly Jaws, he's not a fan of anything with Jake the Snake in it. He was mentioning that. So he don't want to check out Halloween Havoc 92. That was the only Jake the Snake match in WCW.
Fuck.
Coal miner's glove.
But yeah, guys. Garrett, you got anything planned coming up you want to mention on here?
What do I have coming up here? I'm gonna be on some other people's shows coming up. We do have another Rad Pack episode at the end of the month. I think on the 22nd. I believe it's a Saturday night. I know we wanted to do a Halloween 3 episode, I think, as well. Do we even have a book date for that yet?
Well, I was
the-
thinking about maybe this weekend, but it is Halloween ends weekend too. So
Oh yeah, I'm gonna
I don't
do
know.
I'm gonna do some probably a Halloween ends thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe next weekend or something like that, or next Thursday or Friday, or I don't know. We'll figure it out. I know on the 20th we're doing a show with Eric Kent, who a lot of people on the Dead Pit message board remember the name. Actually, she was like a George Romero aficionado, and now is working with the George Romero Foundation. Michael Slipcase Felcher is going to be joining us too. On the 20th, we're going to be talking about some of Romero's forgotten films, boys. And maybe there's a reason they're forgotten, Uncle Bill. Who knows? The Dark Half from 1993 and Bruiser.
I've got to go back and watch Bruiser again because I think I've seen that movie one time. I watched The Dark Half like not too long ago, but I don't think I've ever gone back and watched Bruiser again. So it'll be something interesting.
That'll be some homework for us for sure. But yeah, man, it's fun times always, and we'll knock out a time for the Halloween 3 show too, and Halloween 3 commentary. We're going to be doing that at some point as well. Blade in the Dark commentary.
Yeah.
At some point too. A lot of stuff to do, boss. A lot of stuff to do.
Every week.
Yeah, a lot of reviews coming up as well. I've been watching all kinds of shit today, so. But I guess that is it, guys. We appreciate everybody joining us. Go to borntoberad.com. Somewhere down there. And, of course, Dead
.com. Yeah.
Give us the thumbs up,
Up your butt.
like, subscribe.
Later, boy.
And if you subscribe, here's something else you can do. Once you subscribe, you can click the bell notification, right? And it'll notify you anytime that Dead Pit puts up new shit.
Or don't. I really don't give a if you do or
I
don't.
want you to. I want you to.
I don't care.
Let's keep our community growing here on
I
YouTube.
don't like it. I don't want you to do nothing.
Listen, they need to do that, pal.
No, don't you
Yeah.
dare touch it.
Thumbs up, subscribe, and click that bell.
For this video officially, it's Old Curly Jaws has a message for you. Go on over to shop.deadpit.com and go look at their Team Public store right now. You got some new shirts like the Old Curly Jaws official t-shirt, which is brutal and badass. You got the Yummy Gummy shirt with the captain himself on the shirt. You got Uncle Bill's face on a fucking shirt. You got the Final Girl shirt. You got all these shirts over at shop.deadpit.com. Get them before they're all out, especially the new one, Bedtime 1039. It doesn't get better than that, so go on out. Check out these shirts at shop.deadpit.com. Go look at their Team Public store. You're going to have a good old time. Get them all!
Thank you to all of our supporters on Patreon. Dead Pit on Patreon.com is the only place to check out a complete archive of the old Dead Pit radio shows all the way back from 2005 on, in addition to the midweek shows and fan commentaries, exclusive podcasts, and much more. Dead Pit on Patreon.com if you're interested. Tiers start at only $1.